Gavin McKenna announcing his commitment on ESPN. Like, when has that ever happened in college hockey where a player announces their commitment on national television, let alone ESPN? You know, it's going to be an unbelievable year. There's probably never been more eyeballs on college hockey than what we'll see this season.
Johnny, you are our foremost college hockey expert. So we wanted to ask you, are we preparing ourselves for the greatest season in college hockey now that we are seeing so many players make the jump because they can from CHL to NCAA? You've got returning players already of like James Hagens, Cole Hutson, Cullen Potter, I should say, ASU. Joey Muldowney, you reminded me. We watched him, Sean, in the Hockey East tournament. That was my guy. Incoming freshmen, including Gavin McKenna, Roger McQueen, Caden Lindstrom, Porter Martone, Keaton Verhoff, Cole Reshney, Jackson Smith, possibly Michael Misa soon. I don't totally know what's going on with that. What, you think he's going pro?
I genuinely don't know. I haven't heard anything, but I would assume if you haven't heard about college yet, we're already in August, so I would assume he's not going to college.
That's what I was thinking too. I was reading up on it.
I know McQueen just signed to Providence, but
yes,
I just don't think Misa at this point, because guys are reporting to school in like 2 weeks.
That's so crazy.
But I'm not crazy that when I look at this list of players and some household names on the list, and then players like Verhoff, who, if you don't know him yet, you are absolutely going to know him because he's going to be a star and probably going to be the second overall pick in this upcoming draft. Gavin McKenna, obviously. Any local fans in Boston know who Jimmy Hagens is. So, like, this should be a monster year in college hockey. We've gone to some games, but we're like going to go to several.
Yeah. Also, other names too, like Cole Eiserman's going back to BU. Will Horkoff went in the first round from Michigan. He's going back. A couple kids, too, that went out of the USHL. Riker Lee, a first-rounder to Nashville. He's going to Michigan State. Vaslav Nestrasil played for the winning Muskegon Lumberjacks in the USHL. Got drafted 25th overall. He's going to UMass. Did you say Jackson Smith?
Yeah.
You said Jackson Smith? Okay,
Penn
yeah.
State.
He's going to Penn State, obviously. Malcolm Spence leaving the OHL and going to Michigan. Rangers draft pick in the second round. Like, that's another one who played with Matthew Schaefer. He's a guy to keep your eye on. So there's a lot of big names like college hockey. And, I want to say too, like Gavin McKenna announcing his commitment on ESPN. Like, when has that ever happened in college hockey where a player announces their commitment on national television, let alone ESPN? It's going to be an unbelievable year. There's probably never been more eyeballs on college hockey than what we'll see this season. And, as someone who gets to do the broadcast for a bunch of games, I'm so beyond excited to just be paying close attention and being, right there in it with college hockey. Also, I should mention too, the Spangler Cup. They're putting together a college hockey all-star team to go to the Spangler Cup this year as well. It's during World Juniors, so it won't be any World Juniors eligible players. So it's probably going to be, like the 21 and up guys that are playing college hockey that go. But that's another thing to keep your eye on this year as well, because that's going to be an unbelievable tournament too.
I think that what's cool about this coming season and what's going to happen now that we have these players, because like some of them are going to be one and dones and some of them are going to be there for a couple of years and then they're going to make the jump. There's going to be, I can't think of any league where this really happens, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be following college hockey without necessarily having a team, like people are going to watch these games to watch Gavin McKenna when they're not Penn State fans, and they're going to watch, I don't know, like if you're a Bruins fan, you might be a BU fan or whatever, but like you're watching BC to watch Jimmy Hagens. And I think that there's going to be, Sean, is there another league that's like that? Maybe for fantasy reasons, people will watch.
I think basketball, I think the NBA is kind of in that situation. I think people have teams, but like, I think there's a lot of people who follow players around. They'll switch their allegiance based on the players.
My cousin, born and raised in Long Island, New York, is a diehard Oklahoma City Thunder fan because of Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
and even when Russell left, he stayed true to Oklahoma City. He was actually like, I think his mom took him to Game 7 this year. Like,
I know. I have two friends, one from Arizona and one from Philadelphia, who are exactly the exact same thing. Fell in love with Russell Westbrook and now are diehard Thunder fans because of it. So, that could be part of this too. Is like, going into the season, people might not have teams, but you're going to come out of it, and there's going to be a lot of Penn State fans.
Yeah, that's my Chargers fandom. I loved Phillip Rivers coming out of college and watched Chargers games.
You're Oilers fandom.
Because I liked, I was like, what's this Draisaitl thing? Why isn't Peter Chiarelli trading him? I'm going to watch him. And now if, like we talked last year on the show where like if Draisaitl leaves, that's going to suck, blah, blah, blah. But like I would have stayed an Oilers fan, definitely.
And I think it's an interesting part of it too is what Colton brings up in the chat. He says, as a Canadian, I'm going to be very invested in the NCAA. Like, I'd have to imagine that there was little to no interest in college hockey amongst Canadian hockey fans.
Not much,
especially compared to what it is now. And now it's just like your best players, and I'm not saying that as like a fuck you, but like the best players from the OHL, guys that those Canadian fans probably have been following the last couple of years, are now playing somewhere else. And so they're going to be invested in the NCAA in a way that they weren't prior.
And I'll say too, Sean, just to kind of like go off of that. Colton's a friend of mine. He does a show called Game Day Tarps. He had Craig Button on, I think, not too long ago. And Craig Button, I saw a clip today, said like, also don't be surprised if some of these guys actually leave the NCAA if they're still eligible to go back to the CHL if it's not everything they thought it would be. Some of, and I'm not trying to like, I'm not trying to say they're like entitled. But I think some of the Canadian players might not understand how difficult playing D1 really is. And that's something to watch this year too. We talk about Gavin McKenna, and everyone just seems to think Gavin McKenna is going to light it up, which he very well probably will do. But in the odd chance that McKenna puts up 40 points, maybe, like, what are we saying then? Because James Hagens a year ago, everyone was saying this kid's going first overall. All of a sudden, he puts up, 37 points, and now drops to 7, and everyone else that got drafted ahead of him were playing in a different bracket of hockey, So I'm very curious to see how the conversation shifts. Like, I'm not rooting against Gavin McKenna by any means, but like I'm curious to see what the conversation shifts to if he doesn't have a 60, 70 point year.
And I have to imagine
that's what Macklin did. That's what Eichel did. Kyle Connor had those numbers.
Yeah.
Like, these guys lit up college hockey, but it wasn't looked at to be, they were obviously highly touted going into it, but not like Gavin McKenna. I don't think anyone has been as highly touted going into a college season as Gavin McKenna.
I also have to imagine there's like, and maybe I'm wrong about this. I guess I don't really know exactly what the life of like OHL or CHL players is like, but I have to imagine there's a fuck ton more distractions playing at a D1, especially a college like Penn State or Michigan State. Like, that's got to be a whole different animal when you're now living by yourself. And you're like, especially in Gavin McKenna's situation, especially with how popular Penn State hockey is probably in Pennsylvania at this point, like, gonna be a big man on campus, and like that's got to be a whole different kind of pressure than what CHLers are used to.
But for as much as you warn players about that, of like, hey, you might get there and find like this is hard, and you're playing against bigger and older people. The other side of that is, though, say Gavin McKenna does light it up, and not that players should look at Gavin McKenna and say, hey, I'm going to do what Gavin McKenna did, but say a lot of these guys go there and they bulk up because they don't have to play as often as you do in junior, and you're just playing on the weekends, and you're spending all week in the weight room and getting huge. And we see that some of these CHL players like really turn into NHL players before our eyes from spending a year or two in the NCAA. Just more guys are going to go there. And then the other side of it is if players get there and leave and don't like it, I got no problem with that because I'm not a huge college football guy, not a huge college basketball guy, but the transfer portal has made it so we expect that anyway, where like even if you have a player that you like, he might be there for a good time, not a long time.
And we've seen this in football specifically and basketball too. But like, what happens when a kid comes over and gets promised the world by an NIL collective? And I know that the landscape of NIL is rapidly changing like as we speak. But like, what happens when a kid gets fucked over by an NIL agreement and he says, fuck this, I'm going back? Like, how does that change? Like, or how at least Canadian kids approach the NCAA? Like, I think there's just so many things that are specific to like the landscape of NCAA that you can tell, like you said, you can tell people about, but they're only going to be so prepared for it until they actually have to deal with it.
Yeah. And, again, to DJ's point too, like to counter it a little bit, Gavin McKenna was a big man in Medicine Hat as well too, right? Like, it's not like he's recognized everywhere he goes. I think he'll be used to that as well. The difference with Penn State is like maybe the college party life.
Yeah. That's what I was going to, what happens when you have like a bunch of frat bros or sorority girls telling you to come to a party on Friday night? Like,
Every kid is
I'm not
different,
saying he's
though,
going to
like-
be irresponsible, but like it's a completely different kind of temptation.
Yeah, but UMass wasn't Penn State, but like, you know, I was there with Kale his freshman year. Kale was such a pro on and off the ice. Like Kale
Yeah.
was not putting himself in any situation where he'd either get in trouble or have anything affect his hockey career. Like that guy was dialed in. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
blown away.
hockey is definitely different than football or basketball in the sense that like
Mhm.
I think they start like really preparing you to be a professional and kind of treating you as a professional way earlier in your career, especially if you played in the CHL. So like, yeah, I'd have to imagine they're a little more prepared for it than in other situations, but still, you can only be so prepared. Then you actually have to deal with it.
Johnny, who are you most looking forward?
Too.
What's that?
I was just gonna say one last thing. If you guys aren't aware of it, it's something I've actually watched like for years. Penn State has a great media team, I guess, for lack of a better term. They do this thing called it's kind of like Behind the B, but it's the Penn State hockey version. It's called the Penn State Hockey Story. They've been doing it like literally since like probably 2010. And you know, Gavin, McKenna, if you are a hockey fan, Penn State fan, college hockey fan, whatever, that is something that you should be tuned into every week. So it'll be really cool. And I also heard that McKenna might actually have his own camera crew like following him around, which would be pretty cool. So again, like that's even just more eyeballs to college hockey. But DJ, what were you saying?
That's a little Caleb Williamsy.
Yeah.
I'm worried about that. I can't. Who are you most looking forward to watching? I mean, I think we all want to see what Gavin McKenna is, but who are you most looking forward to watching this year?
Man, that's a tough question. I like it's easy to say McKenna, like it is. I'm so curious as to what he'll look like in college hockey. But part of me is like I think Cole Hutson was just like unbelievable last year. Like everything he did seemed to be highlight worthy. And his confidence, like Cole Hutson, I don't want to say he's like a quieter guy, but the confidence he has on the ice is so loud, so much different than Lane. Like it's almost like maybe a little bit more a cockiness swagger to him, which I love. Like I'm all for that. Like I did a UMass BU game at UMass this year. The day I went on in your guys' studio, actually, when I left to UMass, which was so kind of you guys to have me in studio. And Cole scored 2 goals in the third period. They were down in the game. Cole put the team on his back, and like literally a defenseman scored 2 goals, and BU ends up winning that game. Like he is someone that is going to be playing in the NHL before the season ends next year, and he is electric. Like I think he could win the Hobie Baker this year.
Yeah, Hobie Baker is going to be interesting because I'd say to watch out for Yzerman. I like someone who I hate to say that he has a lot to prove, but I feel like since
he scored a lot last year. I think he had like 20 goals.
Yeah, but I mean, like ever since he fell in the draft, and people were like, "Why did he fall in the draft?" And it was like, "Oh, okay, well, teams don't like him." And then I remember even leading up to this draft where it's like, "Hey, if they're trying to move up to get Hagens, could they dangle him?" No, I don't think that his value is as high or whatever. Like I could just see him absolutely go off, win the Hobie Baker. But high on my list, Caden Lindstrom. Like I feel like people have kind of forgotten about him. 4th overall pick. Had a back injury last year, but is going to be playing probably. I don't know if he'll be line mates with him, but like will be playing with Porter Martone, I would think. So watch out for Michigan State. They're going to be awesome. And then Keaton Verhoff, because someone had a tweet the other day that was like,
he's projected second, right? After McKenna.
Yeah. Yep. I forget who it was. It might have been Jay Fresh. I'm going to just keep referencing his tweets, but I think he said like the most valuable thing in hockey is like the big, rangy two-way defenseman who can do everything and blah. And like, do those guys really exist anymore? And people were like, well, maybe Rasmus Dahlin. And I think that Keaton Verhoff is supposed to be that. So he'll be amazing to watch. Like if he looks like Rasmus Dahlin in college, he is going to be like, imagine that type of player existing in college hockey would be amazing. And
I feel like he's also like not really talked about maybe as much as the guy who's projected to go.
He's not at all
behind. Like he's like the Jack Eichel.
The way that people used to talk about Eichel.
Yeah. Like, and I know he's going to Nodak, which is like obviously a legitimate program, but I feel like at this point not talked about like amongst the Hockey East, or obviously what Penn State has become over the last year. Like, and then he's going to show up to the draft to be the 2nd overall pick.
No, that's its own world. Like it's It's just, I mean, I've never been. I'm trying to make a trip there this year actually, but like, I mean, everything I've seen and heard about that place, like that's NHL.
Yeah.
Like that building is unlike anything else in college hockey, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do some college hockey trips this year.
Are you going to ASU for McKenna's first game?
No, I'm trying to go to Penn State though.
Yeah, that would be.
Like I'd
We're
rather
definitely
see
going to Penn State.
Are you going to go to ASU, Sean? I mean,
I would love to. We were discussing it briefly. I would love to see that. Mullet's a cool environment, and I feel like ASU fans are gonna show up for that because I hate Penn State hockey a little bit because they are what ASU should have been. They're the club team with their club coach that went D1 and got an investment, and then they actually won something, and now they're getting the best player in college hockey history potentially. That should. But
I think to counter, like as someone who went to neither school, so there's no bias here.
Yeah,
Penn State is its own little world.
Yes, no, 100%. I understand why.
Nothing around it. There's nothing around. There's nothing around Penn State. Like you go to Penn State and you are in Happy Valley, and that is like the only place you're like. If you're in ASU, like there's other big like Scottsdale is right near. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
no, I agree 100%.
Community. It's like the craziest thing.
And like, admittedly, I think the interest in ASU hockey in large part is like kind of like a novelty as opposed to being like obsessed with all things Penn State sports. Like the hockey, this arena's new, hockey is new. They had Josh Doan for a while. Like there was cool things going on there.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see how long that novelty lasts. But still, I hate Penn State for having what I want ASU to have.
But also, Sean, like, so I was playing junior hockey when ASU went to D1. So like I played against them their first year D1, and like when they announced they were going to D1, that's where everybody wanted to go. Like that was
it's you're not going to go to a nicer like place that a hockey program exists in. Like
no, if you are a one and done player, that's where you should go.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fucking incredible. Especially now that they're in a conference, they play teams consistently. They have a chance of making the tournament, a better chance of making the tournament. Like, didn't you score against ASU? I remember you telling that story at one point. Yeah,
I did. Tying goal with like 5 minutes left. They were a ranked team. We were unranked because I was at Mercyhurst and scored a goal, scraped ice, jumped into Mario Lemieux standing on the glass in the corner because his son was on the team. Sick.
That's hard.
One of my sicker memories. But again, like Sean, you talk about distraction. If you're Gavin McKenna's agent, that's the last place I'm sending you.
I mean, you get distracted by the palm trees and the cacti, let alone the people and the things to do. Like it is, especially if you're coming from Canada, it is quite literally a different planet.
Apparently, every Sunday the ASU hockey team would throw like massive pool parties because Sunday is like your one day of no practice, no responsibilities. Like that was the big day.
I believe it.
We all silly like the mayor.